Hello folks, in this video we're going to be having a look at the statement-based testing technique, which belongs to the family of white box testing. So because we're looking at the structure and the execution of the code itself, we need to be able to translate different types of code, whether that be real code or, in the case of the ISTQB assessment, stroke your class test coming up, pseudocode. We need to be able to transition that into a flowchart diagram. So just as a brief reminder of what the different shapes mean, our rectangles are instructions and our diamonds are decision points, and decision points being used to represent either loops or, as we'll be focusing on, if statements. So this particular technique we're looking at is called statement coverage, also known as line coverage or segment coverage, because its purpose is to make sure that we test every single line of code in a given block of code. So our target is always 100%. We have a little equation that helps us work out whether we've actually met that 100% or not. So it's the total number of statements exercised over the total number of statements multiplied by 100. If you're not too sure exactly what that formula is getting at the moment, don't worry, we'll be coming on and having a look at that in a couple of examples. So, how does statement coverage work? As I've mentioned, we're aiming for 100% statement coverage. This means every single line of code inside our application has been tested. For yourselves, this will usually involve translating pseudocode to a flowchart and then working out what test cases you'll need to create to ensure you achieve 100% statement coverage. The extra point to be aware of here is that we're always aiming to have the minimum number of test cases possible to achieve 100% statement coverage. As we probably know by now, test cases take quite a while to write, so it really is in our interest to create as few as possible that will still let us achieve the 100% target. So looking at an example, we have a very simple block of code here. We are reading in two values, A and B. We're then doing a little if statement to see if the value of A is greater than the value of B. If so, then we're setting a variable C equal to 0, and then we're ending our conditional statement, and that's it. So the first thing we're going to do is convert this block of code to a flowchart, like so. So we have our instructions in the rectangular shapes, reading A, reading B. We've got our only decision inside our diamond, so the if statement, evaluating if A is greater than B. If it's true, then we'll have C is equal to 0. If it's false, then we do nothing, and it leads into the end if itself. So remember, what our target here is to test every single line of code, or in flowchart terms, make sure that we step into every single shape to achieve 100% statement coverage. And in this case, it's nice and easy because I can actually do it with one single test case with the values A equal 12 and B equals 10. So I read in A, which is 12. I read in B, which is 10. 12 is obviously bigger than 10, so it's taking us over into the C. We're setting the value of C equals to 0, and then we're ending our if. And following the red line trace, we can see that we've stepped through every single instruction. So just casting our minds back to that little formula we had, the total number of statements exercised, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, divided by the total number of statements, well, that's 5 again. So 5 over 5 gives us 1. Multiply that by 100 means we have got 100% statement coverage in this particular example, so we're happy with that. Moving ahead, let's have a look at a different example. So we're reading in the two values A and B again. This time we're doing a little bit of an equation. C is equal to A plus 2 times B. A conditional statement checking to see if the value is over 50. Value of C is over 50. If so, then we're printing large C out. And then we're ending our if. Translating this to our flowchart. Again, no surprises here. We can hopefully see how the 6 instructions that we have in our code map directly on to the 6 shapes that we've produced, knowing that we have the one if statement. Jumping ahead again then, here we have an example possible test suite. So one of the things you will be expected to do in the upcoming class test is to take a test suite like this and actually work out what statement coverage you actually have. So let's work this through. So we've got test case 1, value of A is 2 and value of B is 3. So we enter 2 and 3, and we do our little formula. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 gives us 8. So C is equal to 8. Obviously C is not greater than 50, so we're doing the straight line down, we're returning false. So important thing to note is print large C is not executed. Let's do test 2. So A0, B25, so let's work out C. So 2 times 25 is 50, plus 0 gives us 50. Well, looking at the if statement, C still isn't greater than 50. It is 50, so the statement still returns false. So again, test case number 2, we've still not tested this line, sorry, this statement print large C. Okay, the final one, maybe we'll get lucky here. So we have a value of B equals 1 and A equals 47. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 47, that gives us 49. So we're still not meeting this condition, which means we are false. So let's have a look at what that means. And so test 1 covers lines 1 to 4 and 6, and the same as 2. That means that only 5 out of our 6 statements are covered. So we know straight away that we've not actually hit our statement coverage target. Looking at that a little bit more formally, so we've got 5 statements exercised at a total number of 6. Multiply that by 100. We're only an 83%. So we know that that combination of test cases isn't sufficient to test all of the lines. Okay, so this is a bit of an exercise I want you guys to do. And remember, your objective here is to, first of all, plot this out as a flowchart. And then you want to look at that flowchart and create the minimum number of test cases you need to achieve 100% test coverage. So I'm going to be quiet for about 5 seconds. Good chance for you guys to pause the video, give this a go, and I'll pick up in a moment or two. Okay, so as a first step towards a solution, hopefully you've got a diagram like this created. This is probably about as complex a diagram as you'll be expected to produce in the class test. And what we need to do is evaluate this to see what the minimum number of test cases we need to evaluate to get 100% statement coverage is. So here we have the answer, which is 3, and what I've done, instead of drawing 3 lines on it this time, I've used a number of X's to denote the paths that we're going to follow. So what we're really looking for here, in the first case, test case 1, which is our red line, A is 1 and B is 2, and we can see that reading in A, B, this condition is returning false, we're printing small b, and we're ending the if. So everything down this line has been executed at least once. We're happy with that. Test case 2 then, so coming through this, we're reading A, B. In this case, A is greater than B. So we read in a value C. We're checking to see if value C is greater than A, which in this case it is. So we're following the green line down. We're printing off the big C, then ending our 2 ifs. So at the minute, the only lines I haven't executed is this print big C. Sorry, print A big. So that leads us on to the last one, A2, B1, C3. So we read through A and B. A is greater than B, which leads to reading in the C. In this case, C is not greater than A, so that takes us into the final instruction we haven't executed, and we're happy with that. So just to finish off then, the statement coverage is equal to the number of statements executed over the total number of statements multiplied by 100. We've got 10 shapes, so 10 instructions tested over 10 instructions in total, which means we have a statement coverage of 100%, so we are happy. As I've mentioned, that's probably about as complex as an example as you can expect on the upcoming class test. There's a few other questions you get from the textbook, and there's plenty of examples online as well, so it's well worth having a bit of an explore around and trying a few of these examples yourselves. That brings this video to a finish, folks. Thank you very much, and as always, any questions, do feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much.